Hello everyone, and welcome to today's MIT Global Scale Network webinar, Where Do We Go From Here? The Alumni Perspective. My name is Tara Faulkner, and I am Director of Communications for MIT's Center for Transportation and Logistics. Throughout the presentation today, you will have the opportunity to type in questions as you think of them, and those questions will be addressed by our panelists. Please be sure to use the Q&A function for your questions and reserve the chat function for any technical problems you might be experiencing. So to get started, supply chain management offers a world of opportunities for those with degree specialization because it is the backbone of so many different kinds of companies. Almost every business out there, from manufacturing or service, government, education, retail, they must all have supply management professionals who are reliable to ensure the most efficient, profitable, and competitive operations possible. Having said that, the MIT Global Scale Network was launched more than a decade ago as a unique global incubator, if you will, for supply chain innovation. More than 100 students from over 40 countries graduate from SCALE programs every year. They offer an average of 5 to 10 years of experience as practitioners, as well as the latest skills in every aspect of supply chain management. The network spans 4 continents and boasts more than 10 master's, PhD, and executive education programs. There are 600 alumni worldwide. There are 50 supply chain and logistics faculty and researchers on staff, with 100 partners from corporations and organizations. Our graduates have gained firsthand experience of working across national and cultural boundaries. As students, many of them join international teams engaged on research for corporate sponsors. They gather at MIT once a year for a month-long intensive program of exercises, facility tours, lectures, and all of that culminates in a poster session in January where they present their research projects to these corporations. So supply chain management is also proving to be more appealing to people just beginning their careers or looking for a change. As you can see here, some of the top companies in the world recruit from our programs. Supply chain professionals have such diverse titles as Global Supply Chain Planner, Senior Sales Manager, Operations Manager, Team Leader, General Manager, and President. So there are countless opportunities for bright, ambitious individuals to fit into the supply chain management field. So you will now meet several individuals who received their degrees or certificates in supply chain management from 3 of our 4 MIT Global Scale Network programs. The Master of Science in Supply Chain Management program at the Malaysia Institute for Supply Chain Innovation is currently in its inaugural year. So we do not have any alumni from that program yet, but if you had the opportunity to listen in on our January webinar when we profiled current students, you were able to get a sense of what those students in Malaysia were experiencing along with the rest of our programs. Today's panelists will share their experience with the program and how it propelled their careers forward in their current positions. And I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves now, and we'll start in order of appearance on the slide. Leo, if you want to introduce yourself and where you are currently working.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm working for Cummins in Belgium. I joined Cummins 2 years ago in 2011 September, and it has been a good experience so far in Cummins. Let me just start before how I joined into the CLOG program. So I am from India. I joined the ZLOG program after working for several years in Mahindra & Mahindra, which is an automotive OEM company in India. I decided to do my MBA. I came to Germany for my MBA from European Business School, and I converted my MBA into a dual master's by furthering my education at Zaragoza Logistics Center. as part of the Zelo program. And then during my studies, during my dual masters, I got the opportunity to work with both Daimler as well as General Motors on two strategic supply chain projects. And in September 2011, I joined Cummins as a global logistics improvement leader. What I do in Cummins is mainly improvement projects as well as more strategic projects, which looks at opening up new distribution centers in different parts of the world, building up the business case for that, how much of, what are the risks involved, what is the kind of investment that is required, etc. So that's in very brief my background, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Leo. Florian, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Florian Schick. I'm an alumni from the 2009 class in the Zelo class in Zaragoza. And since then, I worked for Pfizer for 3 years after the program. And currently, I'm working for McKinsey as a consultant, mainly in the pharma and healthcare area. So our clients usually are pharma companies, pharma wholesalers, but also hospitals or governments. And it's quite exciting to see how much the program actually at MIT in Zaragoza prepared myself for the different jobs and projects I have here. So again, very happy to answer any of your questions afterwards.
Thank you, Florian. And next we have Jillian. If you can introduce yourself, please.
Hi, yeah, I'm Jillian Leifer. I work at Pepsi Beverages Company, and I was able to get the position I have after doing my thesis with Pepsi. So that I think is unusual, but it worked out very well for me. My thesis project had to do with delivery and potentially using real-time traffic data to improve the routing of trucks on the road. And so I had a really good rapport with the manager of the project, and now I'm working for him as a senior supply chain project manager and analyst, and I work on our innovation of new systems to improve delivery and selling. So it's been really exciting. And, you know, I can answer lots of questions, too. I was at the MIT campus.
Great. Thank you, Jillian. I do apologize. I noticed a few of the rest of our panelists are having a little trouble with their audio and joining us as well. So as soon as they can, I will have them introduce themselves. Meanwhile, we'll go ahead and ask a few questions of those of you who are already on. I'm going to start with Florian. If you could let us know what you were doing prior to joining us in the Scale Network, and why you chose to come to MIT Supply Chain Management Program.
Yeah, sure. So actually, before I joined the program, I was doing just my bachelor degree at the European Business School in Germany, where I studied management in Germany and in Mexico. I was, let's say, generally interested in any sort of master program, so I actually came fresh from school, and when I found this program, the MIT program in Zaragoza, I was most interested in it because of actually the coursework, so the skills you learn, but also in terms of the class composition. I found it really exciting to be in a setting where you have people with, you know, a couple of years of experience in different industries, and I found this very exciting. And I also think the network did sound very exciting and was proved to be very, very helpful also afterwards. And finally, I think I like the format very much of the program. So I think it's very intense, 9 or 10 month program back in my time. And I found it very rewarding to stick into this exciting group for like around a year and to be really intense into the classwork. So I think the entire package was very interesting. And actually, when I joined, I found that, you know, it was even better than I expected.
Great, thank you. Jillian, would you like to respond to what you were doing before the program and why you decided to join?
Of course. Before I came to MIT, I was working as a manufacturing engineer in a semiconductor plant. I have a master's in semiconductor engineering, really, and one of the things that drew me to MIT is that in this program, I wasn't the only person that had a master's already in something else. So it was nice to be among other people that kind of have a love for education and really want to further themselves. So unfortunately, my plant closed and everyone lost their jobs. Our jobs were sent to Singapore. And at that point, I realized that my work and all my education was too small of a niche, and that really what I needed to do was broaden my understanding of supply chain, of operations, and that way my skills would be able to be used in a much wider range of industries. I really did like the one-year school. You can get it done with quickly and get back to work. I was considering a traditional MBA, but really I wasn't interested in the core classwork that an MBA required. And this program basically had all the classes I wanted to take in an MBA and none of the classes that I didn't want to take. So that was a huge pro in my mind of why this program versus other programs.
Great, thank you, Jillian. Leo, would you like to also respond what you were doing before the program and why you chose the program that you did?
Yes, sure. So as I briefly introduced during my introduction, so I was working as a design engineer come product development engineer in Mahindra & Mahindra Automotive OEM in India. So I worked there for a little more than 3 years and then decided to do my master's and came to Germany. And European Business School and Saragossa Logistics Center has this tie-up to which enables this tie-up also exists with other MBA schools, which enables students to do specialization dual master's degree. So I used that opportunity. I was working in the supply chain area very briefly during my program as a product development engineer. I was working more with suppliers. Sourcing was a part of my portfolio at that point in time. So, and during my MBA program, and my internships, supply chain was becoming more and more clear to me as that's the route I should be taking forward. And this program was a very good fit for that. And that's how I decided to come to Saragossa and complete this program.
Great. So the next question, if you could let us know what the most valuable skills you think you gained from your experience in the program and how you've been using those skills on a day-to-day basis in your current role. Let's start with Florian, please.
Okay, so I think on the most valuable skills, there are probably 3 things that would come to my mind right now. I think the first one is when you speak about a master in supply chain, you might expect this is really, purely dedicated to the operation side of the business. And what I actually found was that one skill I acquired in the program was to see beyond the operations and beyond, let's say, the logistics within a company, but also understand what are the implications if you change anything in the distribution setup and the supply chain setup for other functions within the company, but also for your partners in the supply chain. And I think this kind of skill helps you when you are working in an international setting for bigger companies to both understand the implications but also communicate them towards the commercial side or to the marketing side of the business. And this is really has proven very helpful, especially in my work with Pfizer, because what we were doing there was sort of supply chain strategy for the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. So we had a couple of projects in the Middle East and in Africa where we actually were, supposed to support the country management to enable their commercial strategies with the right supply chain setup. So I think first skill beyond operations, and I think this has been very important. Second, and this is very obvious, is to see how supply chain actually works in different industries. It's very helpful when you come in any sort of company, when you enter any sort of company or continue your career in one company, to also understand how other industries do things in supply chain and kind of how much more they are already advanced in this. So, for instance, VMI is used in the consumer area already for decades. In the pharma industry, many companies still struggle to have this implemented. So seeing across industries, the second skill. The last one is probably around numbers, and I think this sounds boring initially, but I think it's really powerful if you are able to work numbers and if you are able to understand numbers, because in most jobs that we guys enter afterwards, numbers there are many numbers around, and few people do really know how to actually use them in the most powerful way. I think in the classwork we had many case studies where we were actually forced to work on Excel models, to be really pragmatic and learn the analytical skills that you can actually apply, that I can apply right now in my daily work with McKinsey and in our studies here. So probably from my side, these are the three most valuable skills.
Thank you so much. Jillian, would you like to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I mean, echoing what Florian said about how what you do analytically, really what I found is the additional analytic knowledge I gained. I'm one of the people here that other people will go to when they have questions. It's almost like my abilities have put me in a kind of special spot where not everyone is able to do or know the things that we know and can do. So it's been a really positive for me, having that analytical knowledge and being able to run numbers is not something everyone can do. So I do that on a daily basis. I use Excel all the time. I'm running regressions, and so that's something I enjoy. Additionally, what Florian said was about how what you figure out about improving distribution and operations, how it affects the rest of the company. Because sometimes those things are more important than what you were able to change. So you need to understand how it all fits together, and a lot of the classes there really emphasize that, especially if there's a whole class on case studies and learning about what other businesses did in their situations. So I would say those are the two things that really I gained from school. I know they're the same as Florian's, but they really are powerful.
Thank you, Jillian. Leo, would you concur with Florian and Jillian?
Yes, I have kind of the very same opinion. This is a very analytical course, and this puts you in very good stead when you join a company to analyze their numbers and give good recommendations. So I completely agree with what both Jillian and Florian said in that sense. One other thing I could gain from this was that the class structure itself, it was very, very broad. In my year in 2011 in Saragossa, we had around 32 people in the class, and over 25 from over 25 nationalities. The kind of network that you build with people, and as Tara mentioned in the beginning, they are all in very good positions in a lot of different countries around the world, and it's a very good feeling that you are part of this network and you could reach out to them when you need support on any of the supply chain related issues. And also it put me in a very good understanding with regards to supply chain, to understand the various dynamics on different aspects of supply chain. And I could confidently say I'm one of the few people who within Cummins in where I am in Belgium who could really understand different aspects of supply chain and help in deliver my project successfully.
Great, thank you, Leo. Let's talk about the job search and recruiting and how the program impacted your job search. What was that experience like? Were you interviewing early on in your matriculation, and how much of an impact do you think this program had on your marketability? Let's start with Jillian.
I started interviewing a little bit in the fall. That's when most of the consulting firms came. I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do, if I wanted to do consulting, so I considered it and said, you know, I don't want to not interview just because I'm not sure. So I had, you know, a good experience with that. Did not get an offer, but wasn't that upset because I, you know, didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so in the spring, I did quite a bit of interviewing with all sorts of companies, some that were part of our kind of network of companies, and then some that weren't, but you know, they saw my resume and that I was a student at MIT, and I think really that made them a little more interested than maybe just a student that was applying online or whatnot. And eventually, it really just worked out that I was asking my thesis advisors for advice on the job search, and they said, well, why don't you apply here? And so for me, that was a very fortunate way to get hired at the end there.
Great, thank you, Jillian. Prashant Saran has joined us. Sorry about the technical difficulties, so if you could just take a moment, Prashant, and introduce yourself, and then I'm going to ask you to address the recruiting process that you experienced. Nope, Prashant? Okay, well, he might still be having problems. Prashant, are you there? All right, we'll try again. We'll go to Leo then to address the recruiting process and what you gained from that.
So with regards to recruiting process in CLOG, what was happening, so as you might know, the program is structured into 3 semesters. The first semester runs through till December, and then 1 semester in MIT for a month, and then there's a semester which is the final semester. So what happens in CLOG is during the first semester, a lot of companies come, introduce themselves to all the students, conduct some interviews, and they go back. But most of these interviews are not really specific for a job, but just to get to know the students in Zaragoza. And then what happens is they reach out to the students in the later half of this, in Jan or in 3rd semester. That's when really the recruitment happens in Zaragoza. That companies start reaching out to them based on the discussions and the good impact you had with the company officials who were there. Also, the opportunity to do different projects with companies help in this process, and the career support basically puts you in touch with the alumni in different companies, so you could reach out to them also to understand various opportunities. And the poster session during the MIT program, MIT visit in Boston is also a wonderful opportunity to meet with a lot of different companies, speak to them, introduce yourself, and get a on-site interview. So that's how it was more happening in Zaragoza.
Great, thank you. And Florian?
Yeah, let me briefly explain you how let's say recruiting and the MIT scale program worked out for me. So actually, I can totally agree to what the other panelists have said. There was sort of a marathon of interviews. I remember both in Spain, in Zaragoza, and also at the MIT, probably more than 10 interviews with different companies on site. So this was an excellent opportunity both for building a network or also getting different offers. I think this was quite amazing. Actually, for me, it worked out quite nicely. I was recruited on site from Pfizer, the pharmaceutical company, for which I then worked 3 years in the distribution supply chain strategy department. And I was, I guess, very lucky because these sort of positions, they are not really, let's say, that easy to find. And I think that's also why companies like Pfizer, like McKinsey, go to these programs and go for, these sort of individuals to get this combination of kind of job experience, but also the educational background in supply chain. So I was entering Pfizer afterwards, and after 3 years, I found it was a good time to change, and I actually got the opportunity to join McKinsey, and it was quite funny when I had my first day in McKinsey. I received a couple of emails from former alumni saying hi and welcome to the firm. So I actually reconnected here with, I think, 5 alumni right now in McKinsey, and I had a couple of interactions and some work with them already. So I think this was a great experience to see you actually keep the network, and obviously it helps if you know people, so to speak, if you join a company.
Great, thank you. Prashant, are you on? I will give it one more shot here for your audio. Okay, I do apologize for that, everyone. We'll move on to a couple of other questions, and hopefully we can figure out what's going on. So one of the questions that's come up from our attendees is around the constraints of international students and recruiting. Did any of these play a part for you, and how did you overcome them? Can we start with Florian?
Okay, so difficult question. I think the constraints, for me personally, I think I would turn to the positive. I think what this program allows you is to, like I think Leo said, is you work in a class setting that has probably 15 to 20 nationalities for about a year, and this gives you actually exposure to different countries, cultural backgrounds, but also to different experience working in those countries. I think this is actually reducing the constraints when you want to go abroad and kind of make your career abroad. I think it's very helpful to build an international network. So for me, I can only remember very positive aspects related to that question. I think it's actually an enabler if you are interested in an international career, and I think supply chain in a way is always international. So I think it is really helpful to be in such an international setting during the program, also with exposure at the MIT and the satellites for me in Zaragoza. I think it was a great international experience.
Great, thank you, Florian. Leo, did you want to comment on that as well?
Yes, of course. So it's true that it's not easy if you are in a different country to get recruited, because if you are in the MIT as well as if you are in Zaragoza or any of the other 2 programs, if you are from a different country, a company who would like to recruit you would have to start from processing a work permit, and plus the language plays a big role. Often work permit will not be a problem because when companies come to you, they know this is a truly international program and you will see people from all around the world, so they will have that kind of a willingness to process the work permit for you. But what could happen is that there's this company which you really would like to get into, but then that company might need, because they are located, let's say, in Switzerland or France or wherever, which needs the local language requirements, and if you don't have it, that will not count you in your favor. So that difficulty does exist. But other than that, from my experience of studying both in Germany as well as in Zaragoza, when I was in Germany, a lot of companies came with a German market point of view, which basically needed a German language skill. But that was not the case when companies came to us in Zaragoza, where they knew the truly international class structure, and they were really looking for people where they could select them and send to a different country altogether.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn to a question from one of our attendees around an ROI message for their company. So they're looking to maybe attend a supply chain program and want to get company sponsorship to be able to attend a program for the 10 months literally that you're on campus. So what is the message, if you think there is one, of ROI for the company, and how can they, what can they expect their company to achieve after having allowed them to attend this program and then go back to their companies. Jillian, do you want to address that?
One thing I know is that some companies will sponsor a student for an MBA, and that's 2 years, and it's also substantially more expensive. So the time commitment for an MBA is longer, and this is just 10 months. As far as the skills you learn, it's not just analytical. You really learn how to look at the organization and the supply chain from a much broader perspective, and that may be hard to quantify, but it can put you in a position where you can be more than what you are now. So as an asset to the company, you already know their company, and you're showing initiative that you want to grow and really, potentially start running the company. I'm not sure what this person is doing right now, but in those terms, I think it is a qualitative improvements, but a lot of companies will pay for some graduate school, so there might be a way to work that through with those numbers.
Great, thank you, Jill. Prashant, I think you're on, so do you want to comment on that, please?
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right. I apologize to it.
Oh, I'm sorry, Prashant. We're still, it's like a bad movie. We're still having trouble hearing you. You're in and out. So maybe it's if you're on a cell, there might be a problem with your connection. So we'll come back to you.
I'm not sure what was going on. So first of all, let me quickly give a brief intro.
Okay, we're gonna try and get that fixed. I do apologize again. If we can, we'll move on to Florian on a totally different topic around the thesis projects. We have a question here regarding what that was like, how you choose your projects, and what was the process like from start to finish.
Okay. Well, basically, in my case, I actually had the chance to work with different faculty on a topic that was called pharma supply chain strategies in emerging markets. And even though it's a very broad topic, I think we got some very nice findings how actually pharma companies in emerging markets like for instance Middle East and Africa can succeed, and what is kind of untapped potential that could be tapped with the right supply chain. And the process for me was really excellent from the beginning, because I got exposure to great faculty, and as a matter of fact, I worked with some of the faculty even during my time at Pfizer, when we actually started and relaunched some new master theses that were kind of on the base of my thesis to kind of build on this initial small research, I would say, and kind of expand it and use it for Pfizer afterwards. So I think a big asset you have is the great faculty in these programs. They are truly outstanding in their fields, and I think you actually gain a lot of practical insights from directly working with the faculty. In my case, I did not work directly with the company for my thesis, but I know many other of my peers who did, and actually they had great interaction with companies like General Motors or other big companies. And I think it's kind of a long job interview on the one side. If you perform well, you usually get something interesting out of it. Might be another good contact or even some job opportunities. But on the other side, you also, you get deep insights in how big companies are run and on which problems they are working on right now. So I think it is both exciting, also challenging for sure, but you can learn much more than writing a kind of master's thesis. I think the process in itself is a great learning opportunity, especially if you find one of the many companies that are sponsoring the thesis.
Thank you. Jillian, do you want to talk about thesis project?
Yeah, so a really cool thing about how the thesis projects work is that some are sponsored by faculty at the school, and some are sponsored by outside companies. And at the beginning of the year, for about 2 weeks, maybe even 3, we had companies come or faculty members come, and we would take a break from our studies and listen to the pitches for the projects. So basically, over the 10 or 15 minutes that each company was there, or the faculty member, you could get a feel for what you'd be working on that year. And depending on what your interests are, some of the projects were really interesting and exciting, and some of them, you know, you thought to yourself, I can't imagine anyone is going to want to pick that project. So after the kind of pre-fall classes are done and you start the fall semester, that's when you start to choose your partner, if you want to have a thesis partner, and what project you choose. We did kind of like a ballot that says, this is my first choice project, this is my second choice project, and I think just about everybody got either the first or second choice, and nobody was kind of down to their fourth and kind of last-ditch choice. And so at that point, it was probably about October, you have your first kind of introduction with the people on the project, and you start working on what the problem is, what you can research, you start looking at literature, what's out there, and then from there you really dive into what your problem is, what are some potential solutions, what's novel that you can add to kind of the research that exists, and then using what you've learned to solve the problem either from the faculty member or the business that you're working with, because they would like to see an addition of knowledge to literature, but they really do have a specific problem they would like you to solve as well. And there's the poster session in January at MIT, which is kind of your, here's where we are so far with what we're looking at, here's the problems, exciting things that we're working on and investigating. And then at the end of the year, there's, at least at MIT, I'm not sure how the other schools have their final presentations, but it was a nice 2-day event where we presented our findings to both the companies that we worked for and each other. So it was really a nice way to wrap up all of the work that we had put in to see what everyone else had been doing, and the company has got to see what other students had been doing. And I know that they were all very impressed with what the group as a whole was doing.
Great, thank you, Jill. Go ahead, Prashant.
All right, finally, I apologize to everyone on the call for going in and out. I'll quickly introduce myself. I'm from what used to be the MLOC class of 2009 and now the SCM class of 2009. And I joined Amnon from MIT in
Oh, I'm sorry, we lost you again. Terribly sorry about that. We'll move on. There's a question specific to Zlog here. One of the questions is, how challenging are those real-life projects at Zlog? And they're interested in more insight on the interaction with the sponsoring company. How often do you meet with them, et cetera? Do you want to respond to that, Leo?
So in my case, my project was with General Motors, and what we did was we had a weekly call with them to discuss the project status, the data requirements, etc. So we had 2 resources from General Motors who was part of this project. I had 2 faculty members supporting me. I worked the thesis with a Korean colleague of mine. So And while I was in the US, I also visited them at Detroit and went around and saw the facility, met with the project team, and they gave me much more insights about the company and gave a brief project presentation. So that is how the thesis was for me.
Thank you, Leo. Is there a financial impact that it is necessary to achieve when you're selecting a project? So I guess, in other words, is there an expectation on the company's part that there's going to be a financial impact in order to make it an agreeable project for both the company and the student? Whoever wants to answer that.
I can jump in. I know that most of the companies were more interested in other metrics. I mean, the project I worked on was really not focused on a monetary, savings, but the work by improving efficiency would either allow the company to save savings or be able to not run into time problems. So if you had somebody working overtime, now maybe they are not. So that was something I saw, that the savings in other projects would be things about efficiency, reducing inventory levels. So there is, the monetary side of it, but I think for the most part, the goal wasn't necessarily reduce cost, but use your supply chain know-how to fix a problem that in the end will provide some sort of benefit, but I don't think the goal was save $200,000 or save $1 million.
Great, thank you, Jill. I have a question here around the alumni network. So how much have you tapped into the alumni network? As I mentioned at the beginning, there's over 600 alumni now since you graduated, and how helpful has that been in your career since leaving the program? We'll start with Florian.
All right, so I think this is an important question, a very good question on the network. I think different dimensions that have helped me personally after I left the program. I think on the one side, the alumni, like you mentioned, 600 alumni, this is really powerful. So many times when, especially, when you start in a new job or a new position, and you need someone to give you advice, either on a really operational question, or also like how to position yourself within the company or within the operations area of the company. I think it was always helpful for me to go back to some of our alumni and just openly ask them. And what I found amazing is how responsive they are. So usually within like 24, 48 hours, I got an email back or a call back, and it was very helpful for me. So this is the piece on the advice. I think on the other side, if you are in a company and you at some point of time feel like you would like to change, this network provides you also different job opportunities, because people either know you personally or know you by skill, so to speak. They know you ran through the same program, and this is really helpful when they are looking and recruiting on their side, and it offers you a lot of job opportunities, I think. On the other side, I think the network is also the faculty, and as I mentioned, when I joined Pfizer, we worked quite a bit with the CLOG program in Zaragoza on different master's thesis topics, but also some of the faculty we were inviting as speaker to some Pfizer events, and I think this was quite powerful also for me to be able to facilitate this. But also it was a tool for recruiting. So we went back to the program and actually recruited ourselves from the program, because they quite liked the experience I brought to the table, and they said like, can we see more of you guys? And then obviously we went back, and I think it was really good for further recruiting as well. And finally, I think I truly found also some friends in the program. So I think especially the selection committee of the different programs is really good in finding good class compositions. We just heard many nationalities, but also always really good guys in the program. So I think you also at least find one good friend out of each program, that's for sure.
Thank you so much. Leo, would you like to address your connection to the alumni network?
Yes, so as Florian was saying, it's really a very good alumni network we have whom we can reach out to if we have questions and if we and make good friends with. In my case, I have two good friends whom I can reach out to on questions even within Cummins, for example. So that's also helpful even while you're new into an organization, you want to figure out your way through the organization. And also the legacy they have left within the organization helps you foot in the door, actually. So I was really thankful in that sense to my alumni who are currently in Cummins to show me the way within the Cummins. So that really helped.
Great, thank you, Leo. Jill, do you want to respond to that as well?
Yeah, I've found that the people of the alumni network are very willing to have a conversation with you, either about what they're working on at their company, what their company is like, what their experience was getting hired, what their experience has been there, and that if you're interested in a company, it's really a great way to kind of get an inside perspective without having to kind of commit to applying or be worried that you're maybe looking a certain way because you're interested. But I've also made good friends, which maybe I wasn't expecting, and they're great resources as well when I've got questions about maybe how does something work, either like within a company or maybe have you ever used this software before, or things like that where you can get kind of another perspective on what you're doing. But really the alumni network is fantastic. It really, people, I think you'll see at school, while you're there, alumni love to come back, either to pitch thesis projects, to come and talk about their company, to share maybe job openings. And that's one of the things that really maybe surprised me a little is the love from the alumni to come back. There were a few that we'd see, I saw more than once, because they wanted to come to poster session, they wanted to attend maybe an info panel, or perhaps they came and pitched job openings at their company. So it's really a strong knit network, even if you're only there for a year. And I think that was the part that surprised me, that I was able to kind of be right into this network and plugged in, and I was only there for 9 or 10 months.
Thank you, Jillian. Appreciate it. You'll notice on the screen now I have some statistics from post-graduation for both the SEM program and the Z-Log program. We were getting a lot of questions around ROI and the recruiting process and how many folks secured employment after they graduated. So hopefully this will give you some insight into that as we continue with some of the questions. The next question is regarding the workload. If you can briefly address, I guess, what a typical day or week is like. What was your workload? When was there a heavy time? If there was a light time? If someone wants to respond to that, maybe Leo, you can address that first.
With regards to workload, as I said in the beginning, there are 3 semesters. The first semester is really, really tough. A lot of classes, a lot of assignments. Hardly you will find time to sleep during the first semester. But the second and third semester is much relaxed, where you get also a lot of time to look for opportunities for your career. And during this time is when you will be dedicating most of your time on your thesis. So really the first semester is when you will start asking questions to yourself: did I make the right choice by selecting this program? This is really, really tough and all that. but it pays off when you move into the second and third semester. The learnings that you had from the first one helps you do your thesis well and find a good job.
Thank you. Jill, do you want to respond to that also?
I think going into this, you should realize that MIT is going to be tough no matter what. The workload is heavy, but you're typically taking a few more classes than maybe an MBA student because you're only there for a year. So that is part of the reason, is just that you're taking more classes. And part of the reason is that there's just a lot to do within the program in addition to classwork. So working on your thesis takes time, but it doesn't really take a lot of time until the second semester. The first semester is more about research. It's more about background information, starting the thesis, understanding even what the problem is. And in the second semester, you're really getting into the writing part, and that is quite time-consuming. But it's not doable. We all did it. We made it. We had time to go out to dinner and spend time with friends. So it wasn't like I had to be up all night every night. So definitely doable, but it's a lot of work.
Thank you, Jillian. Along that theme that you ended with, I always love when these questions come in. So I guess everyone's getting a little frightened that there's no free time at all, and they want to know if there was any, what you did during that time. Did you do any socializing? Are there cool things to do where the campuses are? Do you want to start, Florian, on that?
That's funny that I was selected first to answer that question. Well, anyway, I try my best. So I guess I was actually selected the head of the social committee in our class. So I was kind of supposed to use our free time with some nice group activities. And I can only encourage what the other guys have said. I think you do spend also the time you actually learn and kind of study together in groups many times. So you're not sitting all the time alone on the library and you have to study on your own. Many things are group related. So this is one thing I would like to say up front. But then I think in my case, I was in Zaragoza in Spain, and I think this is a really fantastic place when you want to learn more about the Spanish culture, Spanish cuisine, also Spanish nightlife. I think there are many things to do within Zaragoza, but also you're very close to Barcelona, to Madrid, and I think we've done some nice trips within our class, and it was really also a great opportunity to learn more about this country. So in my case, very, very wonderful memories.
Thank you, Florian. Leo, do you want to add to that?
Yes, Zaragoza is really a nice place to be. A lot of fun things we used to do during our batch. We used to go out during Fridays and Saturdays. We used to have very nice parties and all that. And for most of us, Spain was a new country. We did go out exploring a lot of historical routes in Spain. There were occasions when Zaragoza has a football club which is playing in the first division, and the place I lived in Zaragoza was next to the stadium in Zaragoza, and we used to have Barcelona coming and playing with Zaragoza over there. So you don't have to go to Barcelona to see Barcelona playing in that sense, and if you want to drive to Barcelona, that was also feasible. So it was indeed, there was fun aspects to it as well, and it was really a good, enjoyable time over there.
Thank you, Leo. Jill, I'll let you have the last word on the social time.
Well, being on the MIT campus, Boston and Cambridge are right there, and there's really like no end of what you could do. So one of the fun things that a lot of people in my class did was we made a ice hockey team. The school has a league in the winter, and a lot of people really enjoyed that. I didn't participate, but I went and watched the games, and it was really fun. It was a nice way for people to be together. I know a couple of my friends also played soccer. They're really into soccer, and there was a league that they joined. We used to go just do kind of random things. You know, one day maybe we went to the art museum because we needed kind of a respite from school, or a baseball game. I got to go to watch the Boston Red Sox. People went to Celtics games. There's just a ton of restaurants. And then the time that I spent in Zaragoza, while I was only there for a week, the Z-Log students just took us to all the best spots. And so being there was really no, there was plenty of a variety of things to do in Zaragoza. And, like I said, I was just there for a few days, and I got to see plenty to do. So there's definitely time to do fun things, and there's a lot of fun things that are possible for you to do.
Thank you, Jill. I'm just going to address two more questions here myself. One of them, are there any alumni from Africa, and have any thesis projects been done on company operations in Africa? And the answer to both questions is yes. We've had many projects, thesis projects in Africa. If you would like, your best bet is to go to any of the websites listed here, and on those websites you will see posted the thesis journals for the programs going back several years, and you will probably be able to read about some of the projects there. And also on the CTL website, which is ctl.mit.edu. If you go into publications, all of the thesis projects going back to the beginning of the program would come up there. So I imagine you'd find a great many resources on projects that have been done in Africa, both thesis projects and those done by our researchers at the various centers. And the other question was around the chances of this program being either done online, or if it would be split up into several sessions or sub-sessions. And the answer to that, at least in the near future, is no. You'll probably have gathered from listening to these alumni talk that it is a very intense program. We're putting a lot of information into the hands of these wonderful folks, and we're doing it in a very short period of time. As several of the attendees have mentioned, this is a program where it can be taken in lieu of an MBA, so it's the same kind of intensive program but done in a much shorter period of time, which again gives you the opportunity to get back to work sooner, but it also means that you have to be here and completely dedicated to the program. But we do appreciate the question. On that note, we have to end our webinar for the day. I do appreciate all of our panelists being with us. I do apologize that some were not able to chime in, and we had trouble with some of the audio, but hopefully you all got a great deal of information on the program as you're making your decisions. We do make available current students as well as alumni in your regions, if you wish, or anywhere, who can answer your questions more in depth about their experience. So if you are interested in speaking again with an alum on a one-on-one basis, please contact the various programs you see here, and they'll be happy to get you in touch with someone who can give you more insight into specific questions you have around what these programs are like, what you would experience, and we hope that you will be joining us for the fall semester. Thank you all very much for participating.